What's up everyone, thanks for checking in and welcome to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing one of the most popular Twilight Zone episodes of all time, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. It goes without saying, this particular episode stars William Shatner, aka the captain of the USS Enterprise and the guy I have immortalized as a magnet on my fridge. Just a heads up, I'll be reviewing Twilight Zone episodes marathon style, which means I could end up talking about the one with the creepy doll, the one with the creepy boy, the one with the creepy dummy, or the one where everybody was creepy.
Needle, please.
With that in mind, let's get to it. Spoilers for this episode are ahead, so if you haven't seen this classic, check it out on Netflix, then come back here. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet was one of 6 episodes directed by Richard Donner, who is also known for directing Goonies, the Lethal Weapon movies, Omen, and most notably Superman. The main character in this story is Bob Wilson, as played by William Shatner. Christine White co-stars as Julia Wilson, his wife. This is episode 3 from season 5 based on a short story by Richard Matheson. As stated in Rod Serling's intro, Bob is a husband, father, and salesman on sick leave who has just been discharged from a sanitarium where he spent the last 6 months recovering from a nervous breakdown. His breakdown occurred on an airplane. So, this is basically round 2 for Bob, as he's now on board another airliner headed home. That's the setup for the madness to come. Off the bat, we as viewers feel for this guy. When we meet Bob, he's anxious and still very doubtful of himself. He also regrets what his wife and family have had to go through as a result of his breakdown. Like most Twilight Zone episodes, this one moves very quickly. Things are kickstarted when Bob sees a creature on the wing of the plane. He identifies the creature as a gremlin, circa World War II. The episode plays out with a series of tense moments and straight-up jump scares as Bob is terrorized by an unknown entity. Bob's nightmare is made worse by the fact that whenever anyone else looks, they see nothing at all. This only fuels the notion that Bob is indeed having a psychotic episode. As is the case during a psychotic episode, a person may have difficulty distinguishing between what's real and what's not. Bob does his best to convince his wife of what he's dealing with. Naturally, she's sympathetic to his situation and does her best to be supportive and keep him calm. But ultimately, what is she to do? Bob is fresh from a sanitarium, and now he seems to be spiraling out of control again. The flight attendant calms Bob as best as she can, and the flight engineer even tries to placate Bob by going along with his story. Doesn't work. Bob may have issues, but he's not a fool, and he won't be tricked. Although Bob is conflicted, he does seem certain that what he's seeing is real. Let's stop and take a look at this infamous gremlin. To me, it doesn't matter that this is clearly just a man in a suit. It's still disturbing. Think about it. If this was truly a creature on the wing of your plane, any of us would freak out. But even if it was just a crazed maniac in a fluffy bear suit, you'd still crap your pants. The gremlin is a classic villain, very memorable. He thoroughly enjoys terrorizing Bob. I mean, the gremlin is out there in the middle of a horrific storm, tearing apart the wing so he could bring down the whole plane and kill everyone. Most people can't even handle more than 2 emails at work. This gremlin seems fine with multitasking. He messes with Bob, tears apart the plane, messes with Bob some more, then goes back to tearing apart the plane. And as I already mentioned, he jumps away whenever anyone other than Bob looks. This gremlin is a professional asshole. The episode may seem fairly straightforward, but there's a lot going on. It plays on all kinds of psychological fears. First, we have the basic fear of flying. This in and of itself is something many of us can relate to. But most notably, we have the fear of losing your grip on reality. In Bob's case, this insane situation is happening at the worst possible time. He's in recovery. Because mental illness is a very real thing, the notion of losing your mind can certainly strike a chord. This episode hammers home that terror as only Twilight Zone can, by throwing a creepy monster into the mix to give a face to Bob's psychological torment. Is the creature real, or is it a twisted hallucination? That initial mystery is important. If viewers had been told up front whether or not the gremlin was real, it would have undercut Bob's torment and killed the tension. This story needed that tension. The tension keeps us engaged and rooting for Bob. As the situation escalates, Bob takes matters into his own hands. Convinced that the gremlin is real, he steals a gun, cracks open the emergency exit, and shoots the gremlin. So, did Bob needlessly put himself and everyone aboard in danger? Was he shooting at an imaginary monster? Or did he save everyone? Well, this is Twilight Zone, so the twist is that of course the gremlin is real, as shown by the damage done to the wing during the flight. Where did this story come from? In a 2002 interview with the Television Academy Foundation, Richard Matheson, the writer of the episode, stated that the premise came to him when he was on a plane himself. He imagined a man skiing on the clouds outside his window. Writers take note, inspiration can come from anywhere. In any case, the idea evolved into what we now know as a classic episode that has been referenced, remade, and parodied more times than I can count. Okay, let's check in on Rod Serling's closing narration. The flight of Mr. Robert Wilson has ended now, a flight not only from point A to point B, but also from the fear of recurrent mental breakdown. Mr. Wilson has that fear no longer, though for the moment he is, as been said, alone in his insurance. Happily, his conviction will not remain isolated too much longer, for happily, tangible manifestation is very often left as evidence of trespass, even from so intangible a quarter as the Twilight Zone. So Rod's closing take on this story seems to be pretty hopeful. Bob has thankfully moved beyond his fear. He's been vindicated due to the evidence left behind. Despite the dark tone and grim subject matter, this episode has a somewhat happy ending. Despite every indication that he was losing his mind, Bob trusted in himself and his own perception of reality. More to the point, he faced his fear and hopefully he'll go on to become a stronger person. Too bad this was just the 60s. In modern days, Bob would have a phone, tweet a photo, and that would be that. In any case, my score for this episode is 5 out of 5 creepy-ass gremlins. I also want to add William Shatner was awesome in this episode. He is the main reason to check this out. Many people still throw shade at him regarding his acting, but Shatner was always capable of more than just his role as Captain Kirk, Rocket Man, TJ Hooker, or the Priceline guy. Separate all the parodies and impersonations from reality. Sure, Shatner may have had some over-the-top moments here and there, but he was always a solid leading man. This classic episode is proof of that. William Shatner contributed greatly to the legacy of Twilight Zone with Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. So if you still just think of him as the mythic parody version of Captain Kirk, a swaggering, cocky, ridiculously charismatic ladies' man, you better think twice.
Captain Trench. Captain Trench! I'm Captain Trench!